Selamat maju jaya Indonesia, mendoakan keberkatan dari rakyat Malaysia. Semoga dipermudah urusan pembangunan kedua-dua negara. Amin. Kami berterima kasih dengan pembukaan IKN. Ekonomi kami juga akan meningkat, tidak perlu saling cemburu.
Nah cuy, selama ini kita hanya mendengar kritikan-kritikan negara Indonesia itu hanya dari Asia saja ya. Negara super tuh yang terlintas biasanya yaitu negara AS dan China. Nah ternyata cuy, media barat kagum atas kemajuan Indonesia dan mengatakan kesalahan besar jika mengabaikan Indonesia, karena Indonesia adalah negara kontras lebih dari 270 juta impian. Wow, keren kan cuy.
But ignoring Indonesia would be a huge mistake.
Indonesia, a land of contrast, a nation of over 270 million dreams. For too long it's been overshadowed, but beneath the surface, something extraordinary is brewing. With a booming economy, rich natural resources, and a strategic geographic location, Indonesia is poised to reshape the global order. Is this Southeast Asian archipelago ready to claim its place on the world stage as the next superpower? Find out till the end of this episode.
Indonesia's economy is now 10 times bigger than it was just 2 decades ago. After 20 years of frantic economic growth, it has been overtaking major Western economies in size one after another. But still, its rise has so far gone mostly unnoticed. But ignoring Indonesia would be a huge mistake, because hidden away from attention and front-page news, it's quietly transforming itself into Asia's third giant, the third and last economic superpower of the region, after China and India, that will soon become impossible to ignore any longer. So this is the rise of Indonesia.
When thinking of Asian superpowers, people automatically think of Japan, Korea, and China. But shocking to most, one of the highest ranked economies in Asia is actually Indonesia. Located between the continents of Greater Asia and Australia, as well as between the Indian and Pacific Oceans, Indonesia has been dubbed the Emerald. Located between the continents of Greater Asia and Australia, as well as between the Indian and Pacific Oceans, Indonesia has been dubbed the Emerald of the Equator. The beauty and power of this overlooked country now boasts to be a shining example of what a true hidden gem can achieve.
When superpower nations are discussed, the nations that usually come to mind are the US and China. Rarely though does Indonesia get a mention. Nonetheless, while they don't currently have the economic power of China or the military might of the US, there are reasons to think that Indonesia might become a superpower of sorts in the future.
Indonesia is an entire world to itself. But yet this country is poorly understood and even more so, often ignored. This is a country that is estimated to be the world's 4th largest economy by 2050.
Nah, jadi media barat ini menyatakan sebuah kesalahan besar jika berita Indonesia itu diabaikan, karena diam-diam perekonomiannya itu sekarang 10 kali lebih besar dari sebelumnya ya, dan menyalip ekonomi barat. Nah, jadi secara diam-diam juga Indonesia ini mengubah dirinya menjadi raksasa ketiga Asia. Wow, keren kan cuy? Berita media barat mengatakan bahwa salah satu peringkat ekonomi tertinggi di Asia sebenarnya adalah Indonesia, yang terletak di antara benua Asia Raya dan Australia.
Nation of over 270 million dreams.
Indonesia's economy is now 10 times bigger than it.
Recently, public confidence in the project took a knock when both the head and deputy of the Nusantara Authority unexpectedly resigned. The job was given to Basuki Hadimulyono, Minister of Public Works, the man behind many of Jokowi's infrastructure miracles, who vows to put indigenous interests first with fair land purchases and relocation options while restoring investor confidence.
We will decide if the status of land here will be for sale, rent, or a public-private joint venture, so investors won't hesitate.
Nusantara is estimated to complete a 5-phase construction by 2040, making room for an estimated 2 million residents. As for Jakarta, a long-term solution still awaits.
There is an expectation, perhaps within Indonesia itself, but there's also optimism and expectation beyond Indonesia's borders around the economy's prospects in the long term. Of course, it is a goal of Indonesia to become a developed economy, perhaps by 2045. I'd like to ask you, what do you believe, based on your vast experience as finance minister, stretching back almost 20 years, are the main obstacles which Indonesia must overcome to achieve that status?
Yeah, I think all country aiming to become a high and wealthy, prosperous country. Indonesia is no exception. We are aiming for that, and we are aiming for the 100 years of our celebration of independence. Indonesia want to achieve to become a high advanced country. But we also recognize that this is not an easy goal. I think the history of many countries economically as well as politically, they see a lot of countries stuck in the middle. That's why there is a term of middle income trap. And we recognize that this trap is usually coming from, first, the quality of the human capital, which is not developing following the development of the economy itself. And this has something to do with the poverty, inequality, quality of human capital like education and health. And of course, in terms of the health, we also have a problem like stunting and the nutrition. So these are all a very important building block to avoid human capital, the middle income trap, that is human capital quality. And that's why Indonesia really focusing on that. The problem is not about political commitment or will, but in terms of the ability to design the right policy and executing it, building the right governance. And that is become the second very important of the middle income trap. That is whether we are able to build the right institutional setting, regulatory framework, and governance. These are challenges, to be very honest. When we talk about the governance, whether this is related to the efficiency, effectiveness, and in this case, corruption. And for Indonesia, this is the biggest issue. And that's why we have to build on this very particular aspect of good development, that is institutional building, regulatory framework, and governance. And that has something to do with, for example, we provide more incentive, we provide more check and balances. We are becoming more open in Indonesia, like for example, Ministry of Finance. I give the example that every month we disclose, we provide people where we are in terms of budget implementation, how much money we earn from the tax, how much we spend for what. These are all become what we call it a process, both political as well as a cultural process, in order for us to create an openness, accountability, check and balance, and good governance. The third is infrastructure. There is no country can become an advanced country without good and efficient infrastructure.
How important is foreign direct investment, continuingly high foreign direct investment into Indonesia, and how does Indonesia balance its need to attract foreign direct investment whilst also restricting certain exports?
Well, I think that's not really the conflicting issue. First, I will put it within the context of this geopolitical and competition, and also the recognition of the climate change as a threat for the human being. And that's why we also recognize that in order for the world, the countries, people to continue to develop without compromising climate change, they say that the energy need to be improved and transportation need to be converted into electric vehicle. Indonesia, in terms of our natural resources, well positioned because we are relatively rich on the natural resources that fit with this kind of trend of new geo-economic trend, which is more and more concern regarding the carbon emission. And also at the same time, we have the opportunity to develop both on the energy side, renewable energy, and on the transportation side, the electric vehicle, including the battery technology with our natural resources. So for Indonesia, in order to use this very important opportunity, we have to shift our policy in order for us to create more, what we call it, value added. It is for the better of Indonesia, for the stability of Indonesia, but also to serve better for both region and the world.
Selamat maju jaya Indonesia, mendoakan keberkatan dari rakyat Malaysia. Semoga dipermudah urusan pembangunan kedua-dua negara. Amin. Kami berterima kasih dengan pembukaan IKN. Ekonomi kami juga akan meningkat, tidak perlu saling cemburu. Tak Tahniah Indonesia dengan membangunnya IKN. Semoga dengan IKN ini bakal membuka banyak lowongan pekerjaan untuk rakyat Indonesia dan juga menambah juga peluang penjanaan ekonomi bagi Sarawak dan Sabah juga Indonesia. Insya Allah, amin. IKN naik saya tumpang bangga. Selepas ini bolehlah jalan-jalan ke sana. Kami turut bangga dengan tetangga kami yang baik kami sokong atau dukung. Saya dari Malaysia, saya berdoa agar impian rakyat Indonesia ini berjaya demi kejayaan Nusantara.